right. I put my rant shirt on today, and I've actually already watched this video on my Twitch channel, and I'm going to leave it up potentially. I might actually take down the VOD, but actually not because of this, because of something else. But I didn't like the way I reacted to the video. Basically, towards the end, I got to the point that I was trying to make, and maybe I'll link to it in like an unlisted video and you can watch it. I don't think I said anything really bad about Montoya or anything like that. But just to be clear, this isn't the normal React video where I haven't seen it. But I think it's such an important subject that I think I am starting to understand that when I say things, sometimes people shape their opinions based on what I say sometimes. And I feel like being very clear in this really interesting time with Star Citizen, where everybody's vying for power and trying to shape the game, even though CIG already decided what the shape of the game is. And that's going to be my main point, is when we get to that, we'll get to that. But I'm going to reserve the right to either post this version of the video or the previous version of the video. And I'm probably going to lean towards the previous version, but I just want to see how this goes. Anyway, the reason why I put my rant shirt on is I saw this title yesterday and my mind was blown. It is from Montoya and it's titled "Star Citizen Should Try a PVE Server." And I just went, what? Like, is this bait? What's going on here? So yeah, sorry for the pre-watch, but this is it. Here we go.
It's 2025. It's time CIG considered giving us a PvE server in Star Citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Montoya. I run Test Squadron, which is Star Citizen's largest player guild. What I'm going to say here is my opinion. Feel free to disagree. I don't speak on behalf of every single person in my guild, nor do I speak on behalf of everyone who plays the game Star Citizen.
No, and I think this is one of the points that I think I sucked too much onto, which is, but I do believe this, and this isn't to discredit him or anything like that, because he does actually share his true opinion later in the video, which is why I got so messed up. I literally spent like a 20-minute rant on something that he agreed with, but he hadn't said yet, and I know that usually pisses people off, but whatever. This point of this is just my opinion, that can almost for sure be not true. You run the largest player org, who is filled with a lot of older players, a lot of people that have been here from the beginning, and he will go into that a little bit. I can almost be sure that the Reddit post that he reads is from one of his members, because that's probably how he saw it, right? And things like that. But I believe that his community is probably getting upset. I'm not in their Discord. I don't know. I'm making an assumption here, and yeah, I could be totally off base, so let me know if I am. But I'm assuming that his community is largely not a PvP community. I know there are PvPers in his community, but his org, I don't think, is a largely... We don't see them in PvP events. We don't see them in PvP tournaments. We don't see them engaging in PvP very much at all. They are not part of the PvP politics side of things, like, you know, the Shadow Moses and Avenger Squadron and LS. I forgot what they are, what their name is, and RAM and these things that happen in the fall and the rise, and none of that involves Test Squadron at all. I don't think that there's Test Squadron players that play Arena Commander very heavily or anything like that. I think, yep, I see Aondo saying I've never seen one in AC. There are bots. You could see what players are in what orgs, things like that. So I think he is pandering to his audience here. And I think once we get to the end of the video, you'll probably realize that there's some truth to that. I don't know what percentage of that truth is his opinion versus, you know, speaking for his members. But I think you're going to notice he's probably speaking for his members a little bit.
But I do feel the time has come for CIG to listen to its player base, who have been howling about this for years now. Give us a PvE option. If you want some PvE experience in this game, why not? So the reason...
Yes. I see Kubination saying no. Yes. I 1000% agree that there should be a PVE option, and they created it. They're in the process of creating it. They have made Stanton that has security and stuff, and they have made Pyro that has none. And then they told us that Pyro is going to have the higher quality materials at CitizenCon in 2024. Risk, you get reward. No risk, you don't get that much reward, but you do get to play the game and content. And they just haven't done that yet. Now, this comes down to, what does he mean by server? And this is the thing I didn't say, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. When he says server, I'm going to make the assumption that he means shard, because we now know that a shard is US 100, and that is a collection of servers. And some of those servers are in Stanton, right? And some of those servers are in Pyro. So I'm assuming he's saying shard. There should not be a PvE shard and a PvP shard. I don't agree with that. But there should be options to engage in PvE content, and there should be options to engage in PvP content.
The reason I bring this up today is I saw this on Reddit. Now, this argument, this discussion has come up.
I am almost positive that Mr. Payne here from Reddit is 100% a member of his community.
1,000 times in the past. And today it's coming to us from Mr. Payne, who says, here's a love letter and maybe a goodbye to Star Citizen. He goes on to say that he's supported them for many years. He's a developer himself. He understands it all. And he's basically reached a point where his life
Thanks
where
for the raid, Krantz.
Time is important. I think we can all understand this. When I started following this game, I had 0 kids. I now have 2 kids in the 5th and 6th grade. I know.
Yeah, and I think that's happened to a lot of people. Welcome, Croncy Raiders. Basically, what we're doing right now is we're watching the Montoya video that has kind of sparked this argument of the PvE versus PvP server thing, and that's what we're going to be talking about on the podcast today. So we're going to be coming up with that in about half an hour. So hopefully I get through this 9-minute video before then. But I have to recognize my bias here, and he might need to recognize his, along with all of his members, is CIG took 12 years to develop their game. That doesn't mean that they should develop it based off of your life and what has changed in it, right? I'm not asking them to develop the game because I became a full-time streamer and I can play video games more often now. My mentality and what should be done in the game is that the most successful games have a base layer of content that is very easy to access, get into, have fun, and enjoy. And then they have this other layer of content that is extremely stretched out, takes forever to complete, takes a ton of effort, and requires skill, or in the case of like EVE Online, which will definitely be brought up today, alts, which I hate the idea of, but it is a thing, and time. But when games don't turn off, time is less of an issue. It's the mentality of the player that is. And that's what we're going to focus on in this. And that's why, that's the part that I didn't focus on in my rant and the first time that I watched this. And that's what I want to make sure that I focus on here. It's the mentality of the me, I. My life has changed. This is not the game that I want to play anymore. Therefore, the game should change for me. Newsflash, it shouldn't.
I know a lot of you have mysteriously also aged along with me. So back when you were 20 and you had all the free time in the world, you're 30 now and you don't. It happens. I know. So let's read what he says. He finds himself stepping away. He says, it's burnout after many years in the verse. Maybe it's the evolving mechanics which I feel are more tedious than rewarding. I once loved the freedom, exploring, unwinding after a long day, immersing myself in limitless universe. But now the game seems to be heading in a direction that demands more patience than I.
Dunpeel Hunter just clicked follow age and it says 10 years, 21 days, and 23 hours.
Have to give. And I think we can all resonate with that too. When you want to go play this game, with the bugs and all, I know, look, this game is beautiful. Listen, it's I think what they've done over the past years is spectacular. It's more beautiful than ever. It is buggy as hell, but they said 2025 is the year they're going to work on that. I hope they manage to sort things out. But what he's saying
Okay.
Yeah, is 100% true, because when you have 2.5 hours free, and it takes an hour to prep the game so you can do what you want to do, it's taking away your agency. It's not respecting your time.
And that has exactly nothing to do with PVE or PvP. That has everything to do with Chris Roberts' absolutely brain-dead design of, I want this game to feel immersive, therefore I should have to move everything individually and ride a train, and then I have to ride a bike, and all of this. That is the problem. And that's where your arguments should be pointed at. Not going, oh, take more development time after the last 15 years of making this game and now make a PvE server for me instead, so I can ride my train and then it not have to bother me as much.
If you want to go mine an asteroid, but it takes you 45 minutes to get out of the bed, put on your kit, go buy the mining head, catch the tram, go to the terminal, pull up your ship, change the paint on the ship because it's going to have the nice paint, take off, go out of Atmo, find the spot, go mining, some grief account blows you up, no problem, you respawn, do it all over again. It can take an hour to get where you want to go.
And this argument is completely disingenuous and is used against the PvP and PvP argument way too often, because if you were a player that had any sense, you would not be setting your spawn in atmosphere on a city. You just wouldn't do it. Nobody does it. Everybody takes their stuff and they move to the LEO station above the city that they live at, or further. Miners don't even live in a city. They usually live at a refinery. That's where they get everything. That's where they keep everything. If they need to go get surge modules because they're not at the refinery that they live at, they'll go fly over there, buy 20 of them, and come back, right? So if you are, this isn't even like min-maxing. This is just common sense that you just wouldn't do any of that stuff, okay? And you're using that as your argument, and that argument isn't valid. So we're just going to move on from that one, throw that argument out the door, because it's just not a good one. And it isn't an argument whatsoever. The moment you have a base, none of this stuff is going to happen either, right? So now you're asking for a PvE server instead of them to make the game.
That is ridiculous. The game is not respecting your time. And I'm pretty sure that's what he's getting at here. Going on, he says, the increasing risk and loss in PvP, the long prep time, well, I just said that, a never-growing presence of griefers. Now, look, CIG understands the issue with the griefers, and the thing is, players will always find the actions of least resistance. And
pay attention to this. This is where you might be like, oh, Montoya doesn't play the game. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe he doesn't play the game, but he knows what he's talking about. I don't know how much Montoya plays, and I'm not going to speculate on how much he does. I don't think he plays very much. I just speculated, but it doesn't matter to the point. He is plugged in, and you could tell he's plugged in based off of this comment.
And let's be honest, griefing is fun. The ships are beautiful. There's beautiful explosions when they blow up, and griefing is just an easy thing to do. There are no repercussions. You put on your hospital gown, you jump in your cheap ship, off you go, and if you die, you respawn, do it again, and if you go to prison, no problem. You have
The only thing that doesn't make sense is he says cheap ship when there's absolutely no loss in this game whatsoever. And we're going to get to that point, I hope, without me ranting too crazy, because that's really important.
Alt at this point. I think everyone has about 5 or 6 alts at this point. So you run through them, and by the time your 5th alt goes to prison, the first one is out, and off you go again. Griefing is easy, and
maybe in regards to reclaim timer,
really
true.
Addressed the issue because it's just not on their list of priorities right now. So yeah.
And I said this before too, is the list of priorities, this absolutely should be at the top of the list of priorities. They have literally been banning people from the game or threatening bans. There was something where like a bunch of content creators did some stupid event and a bunch of griefers went and griefed the event. right? And there's constantly been this back and forth about threats of griefing streamer events because there's no mechanics in the game to protect those events. Therefore, if you do that, then you can be banned or something like that. And it's just like, what? This is so stupid. If that is no longer an excuse for CIG. They have 30 FPS running servers. Their AI have proven to be more punishing than they have been in the past. They still suck, but they are better. And that means that their focus should be towards one-shotting mechanics on stations, should be towards protecting players when they get close to stations, cities, outposts, things like that in high security areas like Stanton, right? Maybe not a place like Grimhex, but a place like, I don't know, ArcCorp 141 on Daymar or something like that. These places that just shouldn't be risky places could be risky places, and it's just kind of weird. So again, not an argument for PVE servers or PVE shards, but an argument for creating safe spaces for players to just relax and experience what Star Citizen has to offer without the constant threat of PvP. These are two totally different things. And I am fully and 100% on board for players to be able to relax and experience what the game has to offer, whether it be mining, salvaging, PvE content, FPS, ship, racing, and so on. They should be able to experience it, but they should not be able to experience it at the highest levels or be able to do everything without risk being involved. Okay?
Yes, I understand the frustrations with that, and it is definitely an issue which is cutting into the precious time of people who just want to enjoy other aspects of this game. It's making the experience more frustrating than fun. 100% true. I still hop in every now and then, he goes, and I'll always cherish the hundreds of hours and memories I've made. But if there's one parting request I can make to CIG, it's consider a PVE server. Yes.
No. And I feel like Tony from TikTok. No. Anyways, you want to know how your LED sign is cheap? So this is his argument down here is I see no reason to not try out a few months while we are in development. If it's not working out, take all the lessons learned and roll back into the normal servers that we have now. You are asking for CIG to do more work and to slow the game's development down when they have laid out to you their plans for 1.0, which is Pyro versus Stanton. I believe I have it, bam, right here. Here are your safe places in Stanton, and as you leave that bubble of safe space in Stanton, security comes slower and slower and slower. Now, what I hope is that you are pretty safe here. I hope you're pretty safe here. What I hope it is the further away that you get from outposts, maybe that green turns a little bit more yellow or something. But that's the issue, is not that there are griefers. It's not that there's two issues. It's that Stanton is not safe at all, and it's ridiculous. And it's that the new content's in Pyro, and people want to go do the new content without getting griefed. I use the word grief, without getting PK'd. I went and tried to do all the events. I got PK'd a couple times. I did the event 3 times on the server. I did the event on 3 different characters. 2 of them had starter accounts. Did I get PK'd a couple times? I absolutely did. And then I started, I put on better guns, and I killed people. And I took control of the area for myself, and I completed the events. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Where is it? Bam.
What is there to lose right now if they simply spin up a PVE server where
money,
other players, their fire,
and you can never go back?
If a player's ship shoots
You lose time, you lose our money. It's a waste of time, and you're never going to go back. They have laid down what Star Citizen 1.0 will be. You cannot praise them for their plans for 1.0. You cannot praise them for their desire to make the game function better and then ask them to do more work. That's contradictory.
Nothing happens. Only NPCs can harm you. I don't see a problem with that. I think it's perfectly fine. We're in a testing phase of the game. If you spin up a PvE-only server, let players go, let them do the thing, look at the stats. What are they doing? How can this work with the bigger image or the bigger picture of what Star Citizen needs to be? The first thing people complain about is that if it's too easy in PvE, you'll hog all the resources, and that's unfair for the PvP crowd.
Yes.
And that is true. I say do what other games have done.
See, he's tied in. Just he is plugged in. Just listen.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel here, CIG. What other games do is they lock the best weapons, the best armor, the best ship paints, the best ships, whatever it is, behind the PvP content.
And this entire community lost their mind over CZs when they didn't even realize that it was like a marginal difference in improvement by having a stealth grade A versus a stealth grade B that you could buy in a shop. They didn't even make them that much better. They barely made them better. In some cases, the meta was not even using them at all, I think. And people still lost their mind because the mentality of this community is me, I want to be able to do everything. I want to be able to go to Pyro and have no risk and have no possibility of my day being interacted with by other people, whether it was a positive interaction or anything like that. And that's the problem. It's the mentality of the player base that they feel they deserve everything. And they don't deserve any of that. You deserve to just play the game the way whatever happens, happens. It's a sandbox. That's what it is, right? Anytime I ask for gameplay, they argue it's a sandbox. Anytime they get a sandbox, they're asking for PvE servers.
And if you
ridiculous.
simply want to play the game low-key and not worry about that, have a PvE option. I don't see a problem with that. Especially now where we're in the testing phase, try it out. Worst case scenario is you go, okay, we've tried it, we have the info, we're going back to normal.
I'm going to go do hauling contracts in an MSR and Pyro and count how many times you get attacked. You're going to get attacked a lot, especially if you go down to a bunker or a thing.
And we're here anyway. So naturally, there's always the other argument, PvE servers are not the answer, says Past Outlandishness 19. For those of us who've had this discussion 1,000 times, there's nothing new here, but he goes on to say, what we need is a better reputation and consequences system.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he is 100% wrong. Griefers do not care about reputation. The griefers do not care about consequences.
Well, no, you need a consequence system. I don't know about reputation. I think he's right about that, but you need consequence, but in a different way. I think where he's going is true.
And if there were bad consequences, there's always ways around them. Players find a way. So no, that is not the answer. I guarantee if we scroll down this thread, we'll find someone talking about what EVE does. Now in EVE Online, the security system is called Concord. These ships come in and they one-shot you, which is a great solution. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that in Star Citizen, but even that is not infallible because
well, and yeah, it's a way around the consequence system, but how many people are doing that content versus how many people are doing the PvE content in HiSec? I would argue that in EVE, there's a significantly more larger player base that is doing that PvE content, and then you have these people who are balancing, and that's the consequence, right? Let's go back to the 1.0 video, right? Endgame, player stations, crafting, player versus player, base rating. Why are we rating? What are these gameplay loops? The best part of the gameplay loop is death of a spaceship, and then they go ahead and say that your spaceships aren't going to die, and all this stuff. It's just really goofy choices. Then this is literally here. There's content being built by the community, by the team, that is literally content built for PKers. Stealing ships. You're going to use the council to do it. But what happens to the player who gets his ship stolen? Because the other argument is not really involved here, but I mean, I guess we can go here and like, who crafted all these ships? Are these ships just returned with insurance constantly? Where's the material going? Why am I mining? All this stuff has to be interconnected and speak to each other and matter. That's the consequence. The consequence is when this Hornet dies, the alliance or org that you're in has to replace it. And how does it replace it? It replaces it by your PVE content, right? And then your death is meaningful and makes the whole wheel turn. That's what we need to understand here.
Because you get ganker fleets. You and 50 friends get together in cheap ships, and you can still grief.
This is why he says
and
cheap
gank
ships.
other ships and get blown up immediately, but still
Because he's talking about Caracals and Eve, I think.
do what you need to do. There's no perfect system in this. And I do kind of hope that CIG goes in the direction of what EVE Online has done. There's nothing to reinvent here. As I said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
A good system is already there. It exists.
But you're asking them to. Oh, Catalyst. Yeah, that's the one, not Caracal. Catalyst. I knew it began with a C. That's the part that I don't understand about this video, is he is plugged in. He understands how EVE Online works. He knows it is the best example of what can be done in a PvPvE game. And yet he still asks for PvE servers. That's where I think he is just pandering to his player base in his org because they're unhappy and he doesn't want them to be unhappy. And he knows that if he says, well, EVE Online did it right, here it is, with 100% certainty, this is how it should be, then they're going to be mad at him or something. Again, pure speculation on that front. And, you know, I'll DM him and see probably or he'll DM me maybe. But the idea of, that's what I'm guessing, but I mean, Kelisal is in his org, and he says absolutely not true, and I believe you, and I trust you on that. But my first thought goes to that. That doesn't mean that it's a hill that I will die on, but it is. But the idea of players understanding that you can't do everything, players understanding that you're going to have to lose your stuff, and your 400i here can't be your 400i. It has to be your 400i in that moment, but your possibility of losing it might help the game overall. You can't have crafting without people losing the stuff that you craft, right? So,
but I do want to see CIG at least experiment and try with a PVE server, or at least a PVE switch, which allows you to play the game, go mining, go exploring a cave without fear of being shot or griefed by another player. It can't be that difficult to do. And
I want CIG to make the game. And I want them to not waste time on stupid shit like this. And I want them to go, those asteroid belts in Stanton, those are pretty safe for you to mine in, or entirely safe for you to mine in. But guess what? There's no high quality material there. So you are going to create the base materials that all crafting recipes are made with, but you're not going to make a ton of money off of them. If you do make a ton of money off them, it's because you mined a shit ton. And you have to mine a shit ton because there's no risk, so you got to make a lot of it. But then, on the other end, I can go to Pyro, and I can go get Rysite, which is this tiny. There's very little bit of it, but when I find it, I make a ton of money on it. But I got to get it home safely, right? I don't want them wasting a shit ton of time doing dumb stuff like making a PvE server just for fucking yellow and black people. People who wear yellow and black. That just came out really weird, so I apologize there. But the idea of people like just test squadrons so they can run around and just do whatever they want. Yeah, clipped. Oh, fuck me. I'm ruined, but yeah.
Especially at this early stage. We're 12 years in. At this point, I think it's worth the experiment. So for you guys on the side of a PvE server, and majority of you are, keep pushing. Because CIG...
And then he tells them to push on CIG to get this done. I don't understand this video, Montoya. I do not understand this video. At all. Okay? Because you make the argument that the EVE stuff makes sense. and then you tell your community, like you're actually actioning them, telling them almost to brigade in a way, that push on this. And I know a majority of you believe it. Enjoy the content, Mike. Happy early retirement.
Assuming the game mechanics do support it.
Anybody who knows Star Citizen Test Squadron, Yellow and Black, it's very obvious. But yeah, you could do whatever you want with those clips. And
a test run for 2 or 3 months of PVE servers. See how they go. In closing, let's just read
He knows Eve. I'm pretty sure he's played it.
Comment by Viorinci saying the thing I'm sure everyone agrees about is we need something else other than combat. Stop fisting combat gameplay down our throat.
Yes. So in agreement. And even more so, you need the non-combat gameplay to be engaging with combat players. So the example that I gave is everything that gets crafted is going to be crafted with things like iron, copper, tin, that kind of stuff that is going to be everywhere, right? And that will be used to make PVE stuff, PvP stuff. So you're already engaged. If you're doing PvE stuff like crafting or making or salvaging RMC, things like that, you're going to be engaging with the PvP community by proxy. And then the really high value stuff that is super dangerous to get, you're going to be a PvE player that is going to need PvP protection potentially, or PvP umbrella over you. And guess who's going to be buying your stuff? The PvP players. You're interconnected in a way, even without ever interacting with them face to face, talking to them in Discord, or being in their org at all. You could just be selling to them and not even knowing it, right? And that's what's kind of cool.
And he's right, because every single event, scripted or not, in Star Citizen has to do with you getting shot at. Oh, there's a box delivery mission, someone's going to shoot at you.
All right,
oh,
I'm running low on time now, so I'm going to let this run.
Oh, there's a cave, want to explore that? Well, good luck getting out, because someone's going to land the ship, blow up your ship, and come in and shoot you.
Now, this is also disingenuous. This is, again, this PvE player or casual player scenario where they're saying they're getting killed every time they leave a station. That absolutely doesn't happen. It's disingenuous as fuck. You're going to Shepherd's Rest, and you're dying every time you go there, and you're saying that is PKer's fault, or that's Griefer's fault. That's CIG's fault for putting missions at places like that are already highly contested.
It's always there. There's no way to avoid it. And is this what CIG wants, maybe? If it is, then I guess that's what we have. But that's exactly what Op is saying here. He goes, I don't like the game mechanics of where this game is going. Anna V responding, absolutely on the same page. A PvE server would make things bearable, but only just. The real thing CIG needs to do is look at Star Citizen and think very hard if they want to make a realistic space sim or a fun game. And that's always been the balance I've been concerned about too.
Yeah, it has to be one or the other, right? But it's only a fun game for me, not a fun game for other people who might engage in, I don't know, PvP content.
Personally feel at this stage, put in some fun. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But let me know what you think.
Fun
your comments below
if I die.
are appreciated. I'm actually going to do some shorts
Remember that part.
on the comments that you put below. So give me some good ones. I'll do a video response to the really good ones. For those new to the channel, welcome. Great to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that heart button and follow button, whatever button there is on YouTube. I keep forgetting. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.
So that was it. We made it. We made it in time as well. I think that was a significantly better way of me explaining my points than ranting about a bunch of pointless shit throughout the entire video from last time. So this is definitely going to be the one that I post. You might see the Twitch stream. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a tough one, man. Like, I understand where these people are coming from because CIG has done such a fucking poor job of making the game to use their terms, fun for people, where it's just like there's always this opportunity for stuff that is stupid and shouldn't be happening at this stage. Like the it's an alpha argument is no longer a valid argument anymore. It's I should be able to engage in content without constantly needing to look over my shoulders. And even CIG believes that with the idea of doing instance content in the future. We saw it at CitizenCon 2024. they are going in that direction. That's the direction the game is going in. What I just hope is that the content that they're engaging in is not anti-PvP. They're finding things there that are used in PvP to build and be part of wars and fights and things like that, and then things get lost over here, and then the things that you're doing over here continue to matter. And the content that you enjoy is a cog in a wheel that is many cogs that are turning, and you get to enjoy your content in your little neck of the woods that may not be very dangerous, but it turns a wheel that makes their content dangerous. And anytime you are splitting up the community and telling your community to engage in behavioral, it almost feels like politics right now, where we're trying to separate each other and split each other up into different factions. And I don't like this one and I don't like that one, where we should be trying to create a game where the symbiosis of us is the game. And the symbiosis doesn't always mean I see you, you die. There should be mechanics that help prevent that from happening on a regular basis. But to create a situation where you go, let's have a PvE server, it'll never come back for that. That is the worst idea ever. And we should be arguing and pushing on CIG for making the game that they said at CitizenCon 2024, the Star Citizen 1.0, and anything outside of that is a waste of time and our money. And that's it. That's all I got.